All right, say it again.
Watch the last one at the bar.
Y'all subscribe to the Last Ones at the Bar boxing channel, man. We got some boxing fans out there.
Hola, soy Jolie de Medellín y estás viendo las 4:11 de Bar, el mejor canal de boxeo. Dale me gusta y suscríbete. Y me puedes encontrar en Instagram como Jolie1026 Sánchez. Bye.
Last Ones at the Bar. Exclusively talks about the sport of boxing.
Yes, indeed. Welcome back for another episode of Last Ones at the Bar. My name is Wilton Henry, and today I'm joined by my main man, Ty Finney, a.k.a. The Legend. Ty, how we doing today, good brother?
Yeah, doing good, man. Like happy to be a part of the show. Just want to say happy Mother's Day, to all the mothers out there, and let's get some boxing started. Let's start this boxing, man.
We're gonna talk it. We're gonna talk it. We're gonna talk it like we walk it. But yeah, like you said, happy Mother's Day. To all the mothers out there, future moms. This is your day. Hopefully, it's a wonderful one. Vale is out. He's on Mother's duty. Mother's Day duty. So I want to say shout out to my good brother Vale. So we're gonna go ahead and get it popping. First and foremost, Ty, like I said, welcome to the show. We like to start off with a few softballs here and there. So I do want to, find out how your weekend was so far, good brother.
Yeah, my weekend was cool. Me and my lady, just spent time with her. We went out to eat, and then we are in the process of looking for a home. So we were just checking out some different homes. So that's about it, man. Just went out to eat and just looked around for some homes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's always a fun time, man. Good luck with your search there. For me, I've been getting back into the swing of things. Last Monday was the first time I was able to get some cardio in. I'm trying to incorporate a little bit more boxing into my routine. So I want to do at least about 30 minutes, hitting the bag. I think that's some good additional cardio to what it is I'm doing. But also, don't think that the old man pause ain't still working. You understand what I'm saying? So, we're going to make sure we get that in. Also this weekend, I went over to my spot, Ted Montana. I was with this one lady. She's very talkative, very, very rambunctious, if you will. So I went over there. I ended up getting my steak to go because she was just getting on my nerves with all that loud talk. Understand what I'm saying? Then you got the NBA action that's going on too. And so the TV, it was there, but I could barely see the game that was going on that particular day. And, a lot of people are into sports betting. If you are, I would advise people to look up bovadasportsbook.com. Even with this Indiana Pacers game that's going to come on today, you got the Pacers there, a 5.5 to 1 favorite to win today over the Knicks. So, if you're into that, that's a good site to go to. It's a couple other ones out there, but that's a good sports book to bet. You got any dog in the fight? You got any teams that you're looking forward to checking out, or that you're rooting for, Ty, in the NBA?
Not really, man. Not really. I'm not really heavy into it like I am the boxer. So, but.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you do that Bovada Sports Book. This is how you can go ahead and do it. So they had the numbers. The best way to go about doing it, from what I've seen, is when you do the under, because you can kind of gauge it as far as the total points that are going to be scored. So I was using, who was that was playing? Dallas and the Dallas is playing the Thunder. Then Boston also playing the Cavaliers. They have a higher threshold that they have to meet. I want to say like and then the Knicks and Pacers, like they got 219 that they got to cover. They rarely gonna go over that. And those would be the likely teams that would go over because they don't play as much defense. But in the playoffs, it's hard to have those high scores. It's hard to go over the total amount because they play more possession by possession, especially second half. You see the game tend to slow down. Then that last 4 minutes, it's a lot of fouling. So a lot of teams, they aren't just free willing and scoring like that. So it's easier to go under or do the under for the scores if you're trying to come up. The other thing too is sometimes you can look and see teams like the potential likeliness of the outcome of the game. Like Boston typically blows teams out, so they normally cover. Now I didn't do so well game 2 because Boston laid an egg and the Cavaliers end up getting them. But they typically do that in game 2. So if you know their history, then you might want to, go with the other team in game 2s when it comes to the Boston Celtics. But that's a good website, a good sports book to lay some money down on. That's bovadasportsbook.com. Also, man, I'm trying to get this trip coming up, man, to Thailand. I'm not sure if I will, because what I'm trying to do with that, I'm trying to have my credit card. I'm getting a bonus from this one card that I got. And once that bonus kicks in, I want to put that to a big trip. But I just don't know how long it's going to take for them to reward me my points. But we'll see. I'm going to keep that up there because that's where I want to go. But it's going to be incumbent upon me getting those points, though. Now, let's go ahead and get up into this boxing, man. Before we do that, anybody that decides that they want to come up, I'm not sure if we're going to have anybody who will be willing to join us, because we are, today is Mother's Day. And again, shout out to all of the mothers. But if we do, I'm going to put this disclaimer out there. And also, please, no profanity. So the disclaimer is the views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the last ones at the bar. The other disclaimer is all of the views in this video are that of the speakers and may contain strong language and adult content. But if you do decide to join, please do not use any strong language today in honor of all of the great mothers that are out there. All right, Ty, let's go ahead and get off into this topic of the day. The first thing that I'm going to discuss with you is your thoughts, man. You got my guy. I like him. It seems like he may be having some mental health problems when it comes to his overall demeanor. And that person that I'm referring to is Jamal Charlo. Earlier this week, he was arrested, after a minor crash, but it was determined that he was drinking and driving. You have any thoughts on an incident that's been taking place? It seemed like he's spiraling in the wrong direction in some people's eyes. And then he was also stripped by the WBC. So Carlos Adames is going to be crowned the new champion. You have any thoughts on the turn of events?
Yeah, when I saw that, I wouldn't say it shocked me, but it kind of did because, the guy was away from the sport for 2 years. And, it was obviously he was dealing with some mental health issues. And, when he came back in his first fight against Jose Benavidez, you could see it in his face. You could see it in his expression that he still wasn't 100% there. Even though he came out victorious, you could still see that he wasn't 100% mentally there. And we also seen that in the press conference. He wasn't really talking a lot. You could see that in his demeanor then at the press conference, to the build up to that fight, that he wasn't 100% there. So, I hate the news. But this stuff happens in boxing all the time, and it seemed like they took forever to strip him. The man wasn't fighting for 2 years, so he really shouldn't have been holding on to that title. But I hope he gets the help that he needs, and hopefully that he can come back, to boxing. I don't know if he can or not, with this current events that just happened. But hopefully he can get the help that he needs. And far as Adames being, crowned a new champion, I know he was calling for that fight for a while. And Carlos Adames is a beast, so he's a champ. And let's see how he does, moving forward. He is a guy with a lot of awesome power, a lot of awesome knockouts. So I'm looking forward to see how his career is going to go moving forward. But my prayers out to Jamal, man. I hope he can get the help that he needs and he can still make some noise in boxing before it gets too late.
Yeah, and he made some noise. I just think that he hasn't reached that next level, that next step. And it's unfortunate that, and I wouldn't even necessarily say that his career is spiraling in the wrong direction. Kind of. In terms of you never heard of these things when he was on a come up. Like when these guys were seeking out and trying to get titles. At one point, he was on Canelo's bumper. He was trying to get a Canelo fight. He was trying to get Andre fights and people like that. And it may be like the personal, things that have been going on with him and his wife. You know what I mean? I won't speak on any of that, but that can take its toll on somebody's psyche. You understand what I'm saying? So that's understandable. But here's the thing. Here's the interesting piece of this to me is that when we reference Jamal, his situation in terms of this incident, right?
Mm.
What's the difference between Ryan Garcia? Like Ryan Garcia openly talks about, yeah, I smoke weed, I drink, and every time you see it, I'm seeing like he has some type of alcohol and something like that in his hand, or he's smoking some weed. The only difference is he didn't get caught drinking and driving. So that's the frustrating thing to me about the situation that's going on with the two, because it seems like we look at Ryan and Ryan Garcia pop dirty. You know what I mean? Like it's just a lot going on with him where he seemed like he's celebrated a little bit more as opposed to like looking down on him for, the actions that he's taken. Even Benavidez, I've seen him out there drunk as a skunk, getting interviewed. And then he's been, having some situations where he lost his title, 2 times, based on some things that he's done. So all in all, man, champ, just make sure you stay focused. You know what I mean? As far as what you do in your personal life, that's on you, and just be a little bit more, cautious when it comes to things like drinking and driving. You got any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would say, as far as, Jamal, it seemed like in the recent months we were hearing that him and Jamel weren't on good terms. They weren't talking and all that. But I mean, their slogan is lines only, man. So I hope they can come together and, especially in a time like this, man, when you're going through something, man, you need all the support. You need 100% support, from your family, from your team. So I hope they can come together, as brothers and, get through this together. You know what I mean? Get through this together and, move forward and, continue to make a career out of themselves. I mean, both guys, let's not get it twisted, man. Both guys are good fighters. They're human. They're human at the end of the day. We all go through things, but, I just hope that, they can get through this together and, move forward with their careers.
Yeah. I just, the last thing I would say, I would be interested to see what Jamal is trying to do with his career, because they asked him about the Caleb Plant fight. He first and foremost apologized for his actions that he took, towards Caleb Plant, which is commendable. But he didn't really want that fight. So to me, that's kind of a grudge match that you can have at 168 if that's where he's going to be campaigning. And if you don't want that, like that doesn't light a fire underneath you, then who do you want, to face? And so it's going to be interesting to see how the direction that his career goes moving forward. Yeah, don't cap, hit that cash app, man. You see $, M-Town, Will Hen. We're the most consistent, man. We come through like the flu each and every Sunday. We here giving our perspectives on, this great sport they call boxing, or the sweet science. Let me go ahead and move forward today. I got on one of them shirts right there. You understand me? That's, they available. If you want to get one, as always, hit that pause button on there. And you can go ahead and send your request to that email. Call that 1877 number. Because again, this is the movement to move with. Now, we're going to get to what happened yesterday, man. I saw my boy yesterday was moving and grooving yesterday, man. Vasyl Lomachenko, he was over there putting them paws on, Kambosos out there in Australia, Perth, Australia, going into the fight according to Bovada Sports Book. Loma was 4.5 to 1, a 4.5 to 1 favorite entering into the fight. In the way he looked, he should have been 100 to 1 because he was really giving it to George Kambosos, man. Did you see the fight yesterday? Did you see that dominating performance by the Matrix, Ty?
Yeah, I saw it. And I would say I was right in my prediction, of course, I think we all knew that, you know, Loma was going to win this fight, but of course, anything can happen in the sport of boxing. But, you know, I think Loma, you know, since he lost his last fight to Devin Haney, he wanted to come out here and make a statement, you know, not leave it in the judge's hands. And that's exactly what he did. You know, also, he came out letting his hands go. You know, he didn't do that. You know, he didn't do that against Tio. I think with Devin, you know, he was dominating a little bit, but it was just more like in the later rounds. So, but he definitely came out letting his hands go. You know, he threw a lot of combinations. Cambosis, you know, he did some. He landed some body shots. You know, so it was a good fight. But you know, Loma, he just showed us why he's the best with his footwork. You know, he was real good with his footwork, moving side to side, throwing those combinations. And you know, in the 11th round, you know, he caught Cambosis with a body shot. You know, Cambosis went down. You know, he got up, he beat the count, and then you know Loma continued. You know, let off another combination. You know, the referee stopped the fight. So you know, I think he definitely made a statement. He definitely did what he needed to do in this fight. You know, hats off to him. And his age may concern some people, but to me at 36, man, he still look fresh. He still look good. He still look fast. And you know, I think he's got some good things in store for him moving forward.
Yes, indeed. The man looked nice yesterday. But you know, I do want to point out when I looked and saw George Kambosos at the weigh-in, he looked extremely drained. He looked extremely thin. But unfortunately for Kambosos, I think he's one of those guys that he's gonna max out at 135. He even though he can't really make that weight anymore, is draining him. He's depleted of a lot of his energy, a lot of his stamina. He just didn't have that grit. He had the grit, but he didn't have the energy to pose any threat to Loma yesterday, which is unfortunate for him. But on the flip side of that as well, in addition to that, he'll get pulverized at 140. So he's stuck in a situation where he's doomed if he moves up, and he's doomed if he stays where he is, because he just doesn't physically, it's not going to do him any favors by trying to make that weight. Look really bad going into the fight. Loma, what I liked about what I saw yesterday is his willingness, like you said, to engage early. That was, if he would have engaged early against Tio, it could have went either way. Either Tio could have hurt him and got him out of there if he'd have made a mistake, or if he didn't get him out of there, then he could have possibly stopped Tio and wore him down, because he was having so much success after round 7 against Tio, but he gave up just way too much. And he kind of did the same thing with Devin, where if he started off a little bit earlier, then we probably would have had a different outcome to the fight. The Salido fight, I don't know. I think he was just a little too young at the time to deal with the tactics that Salido was putting on him. But he looked good. If he fights like this moving forward, where he's willing to exchange as much as he was willing to exchange against Kambosos, he's going to pose a serious threat for anybody that he faces at 135 until he decides to hang him up. When you look at the punch stats, I have them here visually, but he whitewashed George Kambosos. When you look at the total punches landed, 175 out of 480 at a 30, I want to say that's 36.8% accuracy rate. And then you got Kambosos. This is humiliating, man. He landed only 40 total punches out of 371 and at a 10.8% accuracy rate. So he, like I said, it just was, he styled on him, too much form, too accurate, too much power, too much slickness. It was just an A1 performance. Maybe the best performance I've seen, definitely in years, from the Matrix. Moving forward, I think what this is going to do, this is going to keep Tank away for another at least 2 years, because he's not going to want to have to deal with that, you know. And it's unfortunate because, see, I'm hearing some people say this. They saying, well, you know, Loma should have fought him a couple of years ago. Well, Tank didn't want to fight a couple of years ago. I'm not so sure Tank wants to fight right now. So he's going to be stuck in a situation where he'll probably be looking for Tank. He's not that kind of boisterous type person where he's calling dudes out. But you can tell by body language, the things that he was saying, the things that Tank was saying, who didn't want to face who. I think Tank even alluded to the fact that he thought that Mayweather put him in a situation to get a title because he was trying to sabotage him against Loma. They're trying to force him to face Loma. And I'm like, huh? I thought that, you the big bad Tank. You understand what I'm saying? You're supposed to be able to knock out all of these dudes because they're talking about you able to knock down heavyweights and all this type of stuff. But anyway, that's a whole nother. So I'm going to keep the focus on my guy, Lomachenko. Grade A performance. Moving forward, what I think is going to end up happening, I'm not sure they want to do Shakur any favors because his contract is up after this Haratunian fight. That's give him, if he decides to go in a different direction, then they definitely won't give him Lomachenko. I think Lomachenko will face anybody. But the dilemma with Shakur is he doesn't add enough value in order for you to take on the fight because it's not gonna. He's one of those fighters that's hard to look good against, for one, and then two, what you end up making in that fight isn't gonna be nearly as much, or it will be the same as fighting somebody else that you can, whitewash. And so he's just in that situation there. And as far as who he probably will face, I think it might be what's my man named, the Mexican Navarrete. I think they're probably going to put him in against Navarrete, but I would prefer for him to go for the gusto if Tank allows him the opportunity, if he gets past Frank Martin. Who would you like to see Loma face next?
Yeah, he's got a couple options. If Navarrete gets past his next opponent, if Shakur Stevenson gets past his next opponent, I think those are easy fights to make, considering those guys, are all with, top rank. They all fight on ESPN. They're all signed to Bob Arum. So I think those are the easiest fights to make. But I would say Navarrete next. He would be my first choice because, Navarrete got a lot of power. And then I would say Shakur Stevenson because, Shakur Stevenson, as I mentioned, he fights on ESPN as well. So I would say Navarrete first, considering, he's got like 38 wins with like 31 KOs. So I think that would be the most interesting fight. And then I would go with Shakur Stevenson. But then I can't see Tank. I just can't see this PBC trying to make a fight with Loma. I mean, the guy is 36, so they may look at it, from that aspect, and they say, hey, they got an advantage because, the man is 6-7 years older than Tank. So I can see them wanting to take the fight from that aspect. But my first choice would definitely be Navarrete if he gets past his, next opponent, this Saturday.
If I was Loma, I wouldn't. Because I think I could spiral back to Navarrete again. For me, not to say what you said. I'm just saying based on how I would approach it. And I think, like I said, I think Shakur is out of there because it seems like he's gonna go with Eddie Hearn, based on the comments and things that he's making. Because he even said some derogatory things about Top Rank in one of his most recent tweets, where he's saying that Bob Arum is not the guy who's really calling the shots. It's other dudes and they're snakes, and they're doing stuff behind Bob's back. And so it doesn't seem like he's that favorable towards Top Rank. So I can't see him signing with them. I can't even see them wanting to really sign him back, after some of the things that he's saying about the company that he works for. But it's going to be interesting moving forward, man. Shout out to Vasil Lomachenko, man. That's one of my favorites right now. Also, earlier this week, Ty, did you get a chance to see the Monster? Did you see the Monster? He was in a slugfest earlier this week against Louis Neri. Going into the fight, you had Inoue Inoue. He was a 12-1 favorite according to Bovada Sportsbook going into that fight. And he almost got starched in that first round, which would have won some fellas some money if they had went with the upset. But what say you, sir? What did you think about the fight? And then where would you rate Inoue in the pound for pound ratings?
Yeah, I didn't see the fight, but I just caught the highlights. Of course, since he fights in Japan, his, when he fights, it's always on like Mondays or Tuesdays. So it's just real hard to catch his fights, you know. Also, you know, it comes on first thing in the morning. But yeah, that knockdown that he suffered, it looked like he was hurt, and it looked like he was more shocked, like he just kind of couldn't believe it happened. But you know, he got up, he bounced back, and you know, he ended up stopping Lewis Neri. So you know, the monster knew it. He just keeps showing us over and over. You know, he's got that power. You know, he moved up in weight and he stopped. Stephen Fulton was the first one to do it. So he just keeps showing us over and over why they call him the monster. I would still have him in like definitely my top 5 pound for pound. You know, I still definitely have him, you know, in that list because, like I said, of all the things that he's done. Like I said, he was dropped, but he came back and ended up stopping Lewis Neri. He stopped Stephen Fulton. But I hope going forward that he can try to fight more often in the States. You know, that way, you know, some more fans can definitely tune in. Because like I said, it's just hard for a lot of people to tune in, especially, you know, when he's fighting 8 in the morning. You know, most people are probably at work around that time. But yeah, he's definitely in my top, you know, 5. And, you know, salute to him, you know, for getting the victory. But like I said, going forward, I just hope that he can, you know, try to fight, you know, more in the States. But I know he's got a huge support system, huge following out there in Japan. So, I mean, if he wants to keep fighting in Japan, then, you know, so be it. But I just hope going forward that, you know, he can definitely fight more often in the States.
Man, in a way, he made, like, out there, he makes so much money. I'm trying to Google because somebody said something. So he made approximately $9.3 million for that fight out there.
Mm-hmm.
The monster be a dang on fool to be worrying about what's going on over here, you know, because that's some serious yen that he's making, you know, fighting those guys. As far as the fight is concerned, he is see that Neri is always gonna be somebody to reckon with because of his power. But he has some serious power in both hands, and the monster found out. The monster is not gonna fight anybody and not engage and give them opportunities, you know, and that's what makes him so exciting to fight or to watch, because he's kind of a throwback. He's one of those guys that, you know, you got to give some to get some. And I know that I got dynamite in my hands, and you might have a little bit too, but you're not as dynamic as me, you know, because I can put your lights out, you know, and I'm going to keep bringing it until I can't bring it anymore. So I love him, man, you know, as far as the excitement of it. Now, here's the thing. Ring Magazine has him number 1. Only way you can justify him being number 1 is 2 reasons. One, the amount of weight classes that he's moving up and getting titles, defending titles, you know, that sort of thing. I mean, the talent is there. And so you have to factor in that he's moving up from division to division and still putting on impressive performances and being in exciting fights. So I give him that. Also, you can look at, like I said, the amount of titles that he has, the divisions, the skills. But here's the flip side of that. Here's the devil's advocate in me. See, some guys, if they get clipped like that, you know what they're gonna say, Ty? He's chinny. You see, he got knocked down. So, like, Devin Haney can't live down the fact that he was hurt by Linares. Like, he can never live that down. Mm-hmm. And so, in this situation, people look at on the flip side. It's like, oh yeah, he moved up, he fought a power puncher, he got hurt, and he came back, he showed his warrior spirit. So they're looking at it like that. They never taken any derogatory approach. Lomachenko was hurt and dropped by Linares, but nobody has a stain on Lomachenko and says that Lomachenko is chinny or any of that. Where Devin Haney got hurt by it, Westcombe got dropped by it. You know what I'm saying? So that's one thing. The other, and I forgot to mention this, the other thing that you can give to him over, let's say, for instance, a Crawford for the number 1 spot is activity, because he fights more than Terrence Crawford. So you got to give him points for that. But as far as if those two guys, Crawford and Inoue was at the same weight, Crawford would pick him apart because he leaves himself a little too vulnerable. And I think that Crawford would be able to take full advantage if they were the same size and they fought each other. So that's the reason why I was still leaning towards Bud. But Bud, according to some, is going to have his hands full in August. I'm not so sure about that, but we shall see. But all in all, just being objective, Monster, I love watching him fight, man, because he's an exciting dude with dynamite in both hands, So salute and shout out to him. But you'll be a dang on fool to come over here to the United States and take a pay cut, Shit. Yeah, anything else on the Monster, man?
No, I'm just saying, like I said, it's just hard to cover his fights, since his fights come on so early. And like I said, I was able to, catch him and Stephen Fortune. I know you and G5 came on as well, but I just happened to be off that day. I can't remember if it was Monday or Tuesday, but I just happened to be off that day, so I was able to catch it. But like I said, like when this fight's coming on Monday and everything like that, it's just hard to catch it. Like it's not your typical, Friday night or Saturday night fight. So it's just a lot harder. But like I said, he's got a huge support system, a huge following out there in Japan. So like if he wants to keep fighting in Japan, then so be it.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Shout out to Monster, man. But as we start transitioning from the recaps to the predictions, you looking forward to that fight card next week? Because there's not really been that much promotion about it, man. Like because I don't really watch TV like that, or has it been? Have you been hearing a lot about the big heavyweight clash next week?
Nah, honestly, I haven't. But I think a lot of it is definitely because we were supposed to get that fight in February, and then of course Tyson Fury ends up getting cut and sparring or training or whatever the case was. So I think like when that happened, like people were just like, man, another big fight is pushed back, and like nobody's really talking about it. And like we've had a lot of that happen this year. It just happened with Bivol and Better Biv. It happened with Tim Tszyu and Keith Thurman. So it's just a lot of fights that were supposed to happen that either got pushed back or it's not happening. But I think since it's actually the week of the fight now, more people are going to be talking about it. But that don't really seem like the case with like this fight. But I can definitely say that with a lot of ESPN fights, because like George Kambosos and Lomachenko to me didn't get a lot of promotion. And it seemed. Yeah, but I mean, it just seemed, I know that wasn't a big fight or nothing like that. Like, according to a lot of people, everybody thought that Loma was going to win that fight easily. But it just seems that a lot ESPN doesn't promote the fights. So like sometimes they have fights come on and I don't even know it until the night of the fight or the week of the fight. But I think going forward in the next few days, a lot of people will be talking about this fight. But like I think people just kind of forgot about it since Tyson Fury was injured. But it's the week of the fight, and I mean, I'm excited for it.
Yeah. In addition to what you're saying, I'm gonna tell you some other things that suck the life out of it. One is the whole Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney ordeal. Like that's taking up so much attention as far as first and foremost how Ryan was conducting himself pre-fight, then the actual shock of what happened during the fight, then after the fight, him testing positive. It's always news cycles around that event. Then on top of that, you had Canelo in a pretty good fight against Munguia. So the eyes were and attention was on that to a certain degree. You had Canelo and Oscar getting into it. You got the Floyd and Devin's father. It's just been so many different things going on that fight between Usyk and Fury, they're not really, it's nothing that they could do really to match like the realness of what's been going on with those events in those other fights. And then on top of that, when you got Canelo and Munguia about the fight, Tank announces his fight with Frank Martin. Then you start seeing Tank in press conferences being more boisterous and showing more of his personality. And people are glued to that because that looks like one of the toughest fights of Tank's career. And so, yeah, it's pushing that fight on the back burner, or any other event especially guys who aren't really selling fights like that. Usyk is not going to be a good person when it comes to selling a fight. You'll be impressed with his skills. But I just think those things have kind of pushed that fight. It dimmed the lights of that fight, I should say. Now, as far as the fight is concerned, going into this, you're going to see who the best heavyweight is. Going into the fight, according to Bovada Sportsbook, Fury is a 1.75 to 1 favorite, according to Bovada Sportsbook. Now, those odds are very low, you know. So it's almost as close as you can get to about a 50-50 fight. But what say you, Ty? Who do you think is going to take it May 18th out there in Saudi Arabia?
Man, I gotta go with Tyson Fury on this. I think a lot of people are just looking at his, his last performance against, Ngannou. Like we all feel that Fury didn't really take it serious. He wasn't fighting a real boxer, and he just didn't take training as serious as he's done in the past. But I mean, I gotta go with Fury, man. Fury, he's a big guy. He's almost 7 foot tall. He moves like a middleweight in that ring. He's real unorthodox. He likes to clown, but he's a very skilled fighter, man. He's the only guy that stopped the Bronze Bomber in back-to-back fights. He likes to lean on his opponents. He's a big guy, and Usyk is the guy that beat Anthony Joshua twice. So it's a real tricky fight. But my gut is going to go with Tyson Fury in this fight. I would say late stoppage. Like as I mentioned, we've seen what he done to the Bronze Bomber 2 times, man. He's the guy that hurt the Bronze Bomber. You know what I mean? So Usyk on the other hand, he just beat Anthony Joshua, 2 times by decision. So I'm just gonna go with Tyson Fury by late stoppage. I just feel that he's one of the best heavyweights out there. Despite him pulling out of fights, despite all the things that he does outside of the ring, I still feel like he's one of the best heavyweights out there. So I'm going with Tyson Fury probably by 11th or 12th round stoppage. Definitely a stoppage in the championship rounds.
Okay. You're going with the stoppage for old T Fury. Okay. I want to say shout out to Ruben Lopez. He's in the chat. He says, "What up? What up to you, Ruben?" Anybody that wants to come in and give your predictions on the fight, you're more than welcome to do so as well. Here, what I'm going to do is let me go over some of these guys, like their record and their overall profile. So you got Tyson Fury. He's 34-0-1 with 24 KOs. You have, he's called the Gypsy King. He's 6'9", as far as his height, 85-inch reach. That's a whopping 85-inch reach. And if I didn't mention the fact that he is 35, holds the WBC Heavyweight Championship. Last fought against Francis Ngannou in his pro debut, won a very close, controversial decision. Had a really easy fight with Derek Chisore's old chummy pal, where he won a TKO victory in the 10th. Dillian White, I thought he looked sensational against Dillian White. He did everything he wanted to do before he landed that crippling uppercut in the 6th and got him out of there. And then he had 3 out of 4 fights, 2 of which were very brutal against Deontay Wilder. And some people are saying that he left some of himself in those fights against Wilder, especially the 1st and the 3rd. Those were like the Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier fights, where both guys just, they left something in the ring those nights against the opponents that they faced. And then you had the Otto Wallin fight. It was less than stellar. And let's go ahead and go over to the Ukrainian, and that is Alexander Usyk, who is 6'3". He has a 10-inch disadvantage when it comes to reach. He has a 78-inch reach, 37 years of age. So he's given away 2 years, as far as being an elder statesman. And he has a 21-0 with 14 KO record. He holds 4 of the major heavyweight titles: IBF, IBO, WBA, and WBO champion. He's a countryman from the same area as Vasyl Lomachenko, who was successful yesterday. And in his last few fights, 2 impressive victories over Anthony Joshua in 2021 and 2022. Also holds a victory over Chisora. His fight was much closer, but as they say, styles make fights. He was getting acclimated to the heavyweight division. And then he had initially it was an impressive victory over Dubois until he got hit in the solar plexus and he ended up dropping, And so that's a spot right there that Fury could take advantage of if he can get to his midsection. Now, here's the thing. I it's hard to predict this fight, man, and I'm gonna tell you why, Legend. One, Fury. So you say Fury moves like a middleweight to a certain degree. I think he's more smoother. He's more of a natural than most guys that he faces that are heavyweights, And when I think about it, a lot of guys can look that way against like Wilder. Not to say Wilder isn't a formidable opponent. I'm just saying that he's not really like a boxer like that. He's just has power, and that's what he relies on. He does it in his own way, but it's not like technically sound. So his movements are going to look very overemphasized against a Deontay Wilder. And then some of the other guys that he faced, like a Chisora, Dillian White, when you put that rhythm against Usyk, I don't know, because Usyk really moves like a middleweight. He really takes advantage of the fact that the big guys, he uses his lack of size as an advantage, and then his ballet movements in the ring, kind of like Vasyl Lomachenko. So it's going to be interesting to see how those body rhythms are going to work, because when I look at it, Usyk, he was able to sit right there in front of Anthony Joshua. Now, I don't know who will win between Anthony Joshua and Fury, because again, styles make fights. I would think that Fury would be able to beat Joshua. I think, because mentally and psychologically, I think he would have a huge advantage. But when you think about the way each guy punches, though, like Joshua is more fundamentally sound. He's more of a sniper, where Fury, when you see him against Ngannou, he's trying to land his big shots. It looked weird. It looked awkward. And it looked like he couldn't really land like he wanted to. And then sometimes even when he winds up, it's not that big of a shot based on by the time it ends up landing on his opponent. That's what I've been seeing that more recently in his fights. So will Usyk should be able, and he's left-handed, he should be able to stand in front of Fury and use his size against him when he throws those shots and be able to get in and land some of his own shots. And so that's going to be interesting to see. He's fighting a guy for the first time who is slicker than him. And so that's what really has me pausing for concern if I'm a Tyson Fury fan, which I'm not. I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say that I'm going to go with the slight upset, and I'm going to go with Usyk, because I think that Tyson Fury has lost it a little bit. It's hard to reduplicate that. When you look the way he looked against Ngannou, and I know he didn't take him seriously, and then he had the fight against Chisora. I didn't like how he really looked in that fight. Can he really just turn it on like that, especially against the upper echelon guy like Usyk, who's very serious and takes his craft very seriously? So I'm going to go with Usyk. And I'm going to say a 12-round close decision. It could be a majority decision. It could be a split decision. But I think when it's all said and done, the Ukrainian will have his hands raised. You got any other thoughts on what might transpire next week?
Yeah, I'll just add the fact that if you look at Fury's resume, of course he's got like 4 or 5 stoppages in his last couple of fights, but at the same time, it happened against Derek Chisora. Derek Chisora, he's more of a journeyman. He's a journeyman at this stage in his career. Dillian White, he's already been stopped a few times. He's chinny. He gets caught with those uppercuts and he goes out. It happened against Povetkin. So like even though Fury did get stoppages, it wasn't like against the best guys, but like I said, he did stop, the Bronze Bomber, to the different times. But I still think that those 3 fights with Wilder still did take a lot out of him somewhat. He was dropped 4 times over 3 fights. So, I mean, that's the hardest hitting guy in the heavyweight division right now. He was dropped by him 4 times. But like just going by his past couple fights, like I said, he did get a lot of stoppages and knockouts. But at the same time, Usyk's never been stopped. You know what I mean? So this is a fresh guy he's fighting against. Usyk, he's a champion. He's a champion for a reason. You moved up to the heavyweight division, and he's beating everybody he's faced. So I think it's going to be a good fight. I think it's going to live up to the hype. And we're going to have to fight in 6 or 7 days, man. So I can't wait.
Absolutely. Last thing I'll say before I go to the other one, it's another fight on this card that I'm very interested in. But what I will say for Fury, the 2 things that he may do that could lead to victory is keeping Usyk at the end of the jab. If he's able to do that, then it's going to be trouble for Usyk. The other thing is, will he be able to land one of those shots on Usyk's midsection, where he seems to have a sweet spot in his breadbasket? Because not only did Dubois have the success that he had in dropping him, but if you look at previous fights, that's always been cause for concern. Every time he gets hit there, it has a negative and adverse effect. He seems to take the shots to the head well, or he's able to take some mustard off the shot with his head movement and just being able to get out of range just enough where he's taking some steam off the fastball. But as far as that breadbasket, there might be trouble there if if Fury's able to land something, big down there. But we'll see. Are you familiar with Ja Opetaia?
Nah, not really too familiar with him. I mean, I've seen him fight, but I think he fought on a was it like that December 23rd card, where it was all those heavyweights fighting, I think. I just remember seeing him fight, but I'm not too familiar with him though.
Yeah, this right here is going to actually take place next week. It's the 3rd fight. It probably is going to be the first fight on the main event broadcast, and then you got another fight in between that I'm not necessarily. I want to say it's Joe Cordova. He's fighting in the co-main event, but this right here, the rematch, you have Ja Opetaia. He's going to be taking on Maris Bradis in a rematch, where Opetaia going into this one is a 3-1 favorite, according to Bovada Sportsbook. Now, a couple things here. Ja, he is 24-0 with 19 KOs. He is 28 out of Australia, southpaw, 6'2", 76-inch reach. He last beat Elizoro, like you said, on that December 23rd card. Prior to that, he beat Jordan Thompson in Wembley. I think that was on Anthony Joshua undercard. And then before that, he won close decision to Maris Bradis to take his belt. And in that fight, he suffered a broken jaw early and was able to, win that belt, that IBF title, away from Maris Bradis. And keep in mind, Maris Bradis, who's 28-2 with 20 KOs, his only 2 losses are to Opetaia and Usyk. He's 6'1", 75-inch reach. He's from Latvia. 6'1", 75. Okay, so let me go ahead and go to his. Like I say, those are the 2. He has a really impressive resume, man. Like I say, the Usyk loss back in 2018, which was a majority decision loss. And then he has victories over Dorticus, Galakwi, and then the Opetaia loss that he had in 2022. But the only thing is, he's going to be on such a long layoff. That's the reason why I'm favoring Opetaia more so. I think I probably would favor him anyway because he's just a little bit younger. But Bradis is a live dog against anybody. But when you are as old as he is, coming off that long layoff, and Obitaya is fast. Like, he has speed, he has power, he's tenacious. And those are the things that you want to avoid coming in on a long layoff. Now, if he was coming to fight somebody who was a little bit slower, takes their time, to get warmed up, he's not going to have that luxury against this guy. This guy's going to come out guns blazing. And I think he might end up getting old Bradis out of there. So for my prediction for this fight, I'll say Jai Opataya, and I think he's going to get him out of there. I say 7th round TKO victory for Jai Opataya. All right. Let me go ahead and take a pause for the cause, man. We're going to go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe button. Don't be a hater. You understand me? And then to end things off, Ty, we're going to go ahead and discuss a few of the recent events that have taken place this week, as far as the boxing news is concerned, and then we can call it a day. The first thing on here, this fight right here, would you be excited for this fight if this fight does take place between Saul Canelo Alvarez and Terrence Bud Crawford? Canelo, according to Bovada Sportsbook, will be a 2.25 to 1 favorite going into the fight, which is surprising to me. I thought it'd be more, but then when I thought about it, I remember when Canelo fought against Amir Khan, and before he landed that vicious shot, Amir Khan was kind of posing some problems to Canelo a little bit with his speed and movements. I don't think that Crawford will fight that type of fight, but he might still. He's going to be a problem as long as the fight lasts. But going into the fight, you had Canelo 62-2. Obviously, Crawford is 40-0. Crawford has piled up the knockouts at welterweight, 78% knockout rate. He's a little older than Canelo, where he's 36 and Canelo's 33. Canelo has a 65% KO ratio. They both 5'8". Canelo typically fights around 20 pounds plus more than Bud. Bud has the reach advantage, and then you see their best wins with Spence, Porter, and Brook, all dudes who were either on long layoffs or ready to leave the sport. And then Canelo, he's beat Golovkin a few times, Jacobs, Kovalev. What were your thoughts be, man, if these dudes do lock horns, man? What would you think the likely outcome would be?
That's a tricky one. It seems like this is what Bud wants. He wants to jump up these weight divisions and, fight Canelo. He's been talking about it for a minute. I ain't highly interested in it. Like I said, Bud was at 140, moved up to 147. And he's talking about fighting at 154. So, I mean, it just seems like he wants to jump up weight classes, fight these guys. But the only thing with Bud, man, he fights once a year. So, that activity isn't really on his side, but he's the guy that's been stopping everybody since 2014. So he's been on a crazy knockout streak for about 10 years now. So while Canelo, on the other hand, he didn't stop, John Ryder. He didn't stop Jaime Munguia. Yes, he did get knockdowns in that fight, but he didn't stop those guys. So it's tricky, man. Like you said, Crawford's the undefeated guy. He's the guy that's been stopping everybody. He is a little older, as you mentioned. He's a couple years older, but we don't know how he would move, in a higher weight class. Just jumping up a couple weight divisions. We don't know how he'll move. We don't know if he's going to have those same reflexes. We don't know if he's going to have the same footwork. But so it's something to really look forward to see if he can do it. So it's hard for me to call this one, but I would have to go with Canelo since this is, his weight class. And, he's, we've seen what Canelo can do, in that weight class. So at this stage in their careers, I'll probably go with Canelo just because he's been around that weight. And, he's definitely had a lot more fights. He's been doing this since 15 years old. So he's got a lot of experience. And like I said, man, Crawford, just with being older, the only fighting once a year, I would just have to favor Canelo. But I would say by decision. I don't think Crawford would be stopped in this fight. I would just go by Canelo with by decision.
Yeah, the only reason I would go with Canelo because this is the first dude that he's fighting that he don't have all of the advantage over. So And Canelo probably won't come in at a 17-month layoff. So, I got to favor Saul. Now, he will pose some threats. I think that somebody smaller can give Canelo some problems if he fights somebody, the right guy. Crawford could be. I'm not sure. Only thing about Crawford nowadays, he doesn't move that much. Like, he's right there. And even in that Spence fight, he mollywopped Spence. But it was a couple times that Spence, he just was hitting like Paulie Malignaggi. He landed some shots, like when he tried to dig deep or he would throw something and Crawford would catch him like right before he can catch him. I just don't think that you can play that game against Canelo, like being there in the pocket so much, because Canelo's going to land some stuff not only on your, kisser or on the spots that you typically think that a person will get hurt, but he's going to be landing stuff, like say, on your arms. He's going to be landing stuff just anywhere where he can touch you. And for you to be 2 or 3 weight classes smaller, it's going to like take its toll on you. If he was more of a mover, where he was more of a guy who doesn't really get hit, let's say, for instance, he was able to move up and he can take a Shakur Stevenson approach in a fight, then I would like his chances better than him just sitting there, trying to do what he was doing like against David Avenesian, what he was doing against Spence. I just don't like that against Canelo. Like I say, Frank Ruben and Marky Dan, you're more than welcome to come in. At least, give us your thoughts on who you think is going to win next week. And I see right here that Ruben Lopez, he's saying that Fury's going to win. He said that he can't outbox Fury once that established, it's downhill from there. Okay, we'll see. You going to put some money down on old Fury? You see, monsters. Yeah, according to Ring Magazine, I can't justify the monster being number 1 to me personally, because of the fact that, like I say, when I think about him and Bud, if they were to fight each other at the same weight, I just think that it's a level that Bud is that he's not, and that's the reason why I would favor Bud at number 1 right now. But we'll see. Bud also fighting a dude next, in a couple months that isn't, I don't think he's that great. I just think he's going to come in heavier, and he's going to have energy and a little bit of power. So I just want to see what he's going to deal with that, with somebody who isn't coming in compromised. You know what I'm saying? Also, you sent this to me last week, Ty, when you got wind of this, as far as Boots Ennis, fighting for that IBF world title against Crowley. Obviously Boots will be a heavy favorite. Boots will enter the fight as a 7-1 favorite, according to Bovada Sportsbook. This is going to be a homecoming fight in Philly, July 13th, 3 days before my birthday. You see Boots has an impressive 31-0, 28 KO record, where Crowley, the thing that, what be cause for concern is the fact that he isn't that heavy of a hitter. So will he have anything to have Boots cautious in any way? Or will Boots just be able to come in, styling on him, come in reckless and not really have to worry about anything coming back his way? That's my biggest concern going to this fight, as far as it being competitive. But what about you? Do you like this fight, Ty?
I mean, both guys are undefeated, so I can say that much. Ennis is a champion, so it's a title on the line. It's 2 undefeated guys, but I still look at it like kind of like Virgil Ortiz versus McKinson. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, it's a feather-fisted guy versus a power puncher, and it just seems like Crowley is not going to really have much of a chance. Now, if he comes in there on his bicycle, I think Boots is definitely going to have to put more work in, kind of like, when he fought that Corinne dude, he couldn't get the knockout. So if Cody Crowley comes in there willing to exchange, I can see Boots definitely getting a stoppage. But if he comes in there and wants to stay on his bicycle, I think Boots is going to have a hard time. But I think, to be honest, I think this is easy work for Boots. Like, I definitely want to say it, like they did a real good job with the press conference. Cody Crowley, his trainer was doing a lot of trash talking. Bozy Ennis got a little heated. So like the press conference, man, I think they did a good job. I think they're definitely going to bring more eyes to this fight. It's in Boots' backyard, so I think it's going to sell out. I don't think it's been a boxing fight at the Wells Fargo Arena, so I think this would be a first-time boxing event. So I can definitely see it selling out since it's in Boots' backyard. But I think this, to be honest, I think it's easy work for Boots if Cody decides to come in there and trade with him. But I think this is a knockout. I'll probably go for a mid-round stoppage for Boots.
Oh, okay. So you got Marky. He says, Marky Dan, he says that he got the monster against Bud. He also has the monster as #1 pound for pound fighter. And Ty, if you, because I think they're on your, I'm putting a link in the chat, but I think they're on your stream coming through. So when I'm putting that in the chat, they're not getting that link. So yeah, like I said, for me, I just think that, sometimes you have these fights where you got dudes who might be, have skill, and I think Crowley has skill. I just think that unfortunately he's just going into a fight with somebody who just has more weapons and heavier handed, and all that he might be able to get away with and do and have success. Just that one little punch can change the whole trajectory of the fight, where he doesn't have that. He has to be perfect throughout the whole fight. And that's just very tough to do, especially against somebody who's as talented as Boots. So we'll see. Boots got to fight somebody, and good, I'm happy for him that he's able to get a homecoming fight and he can get all those people in the tri-state area to come check him out. And so hopefully this is just something to move him forward in his career, but we'll see. Boom. We got my main man, Errol Spence. He's talking big. It says, but can he back it up against Ryan Garcia? So I was looking to see if they had odds on Bovada Sportsbook for the Spence and Ryan potential matchup, if that was something that would ever take place, which I doubt. My question is this, though. Not only Spence, right? But matter of fact, we can get to Spence in a second. I got a question, man, because speaking of Ryan Garcia, so many people are now interested in a fight. I hear Shakur talking. I hear Tank saying that they can fight again at 140, but maybe a rehydration clause or something like that. I hear even people like Clarissa Shields saying stuff about Ryan Garcia. What do you think about that? Like those people who want to get into the ring with Ryan, and even Errol?
As far as Clarissa Shields, man, I think she needs to chill, man. She's always getting into with the guys, man. I think she's got into it with Jake Paul now. She's going back and forth with Tank. We can eliminate Clarissa Shields. I mean, a woman fighting a guy in the sport of boxing, I mean, that's never going to happen, man. So Shields just doing this because, the women's division doesn't have, a huge roster like, the guys. So I think Shields just doing all this because her division isn't big. You know what I mean? So she just likes to talk trash to the guys, but it's unrealistic, man. So we could definitely eliminate Shields. But as far as him and Errol Spence, that doesn't interest me. I mean, yes, they are talking trash. I mean, we all like trash talking, but it doesn't interest me because Ryan is fighting at 140 now, and Spence was talking about, going up to 154. So already that's a 14 pound difference. And the question is, what weight will they fight at? Will it be at 147 when Spence wants to fight at 154 next? So, and Ryan hasn't fought at 147. So to me, like, it's unrealistic unless they can come and agree on a certain weight. And, if Ryan moves up to, to that weight division, how is he going to look? You know what I mean? So, I mean, I'm not interested in it. But I mean, if it happens, it happens. But and if it happens at 147, man, that's the weight that Spence has been fighting at for a long time. So I would probably go with Spence. And my other question would be who's going to be the trainer? I know Spence and Derek James had like a falling out. So is Derek James going to be in Spence's corner, or is he going to be in Ryan's corner? You know what I mean? I don't know.
He's not going to be in Spence's corner, but they're done. They got a lawsuit against each other.
Okay. All right. So he's not going to be in Spence's corner.
Yeah, that's the main reason Ryan want to put them paws on him, because he said that he did him dirty.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I would just have to go with Errol Spence, because I said Spence has been fighting at 147, and this would be Ryan's first time moving up to that weight, if that's the weight that they fight at. So I would just go with Spence because he's been around that weight for a longer time. You know what I mean? And then of course we got Ryan Garcia and all this PD stuff. So at this point in their careers, I would just have to go with Errol Spence, even though he took a beating in his last fight.
My thing is, why are these dudes even entertaining Ryan Garcia? Dude tested positive, bro. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you should be like, man, ban that dude. Like, he's making a mockery of our sport. He's entering the ring against guys and putting their lives at stake. Like, no, this dude is a chump, but you are entertaining this dude. If Devin Haney tested positive for whatever it is, the Ostarine or whatever, it would be the attention to him and the way they treat him would be totally different. They wouldn't, nobody be like, man, no, he cheated. Like, no, Ryan, and they'd be trying to make sure Ryan is okay and that sort of thing. But with Devin, it's like they just bypass the fact that this dude tested positive for a banned substance. I'm ashamed of all of them people talking about they want to fight Ryan Garcia. No, get this chump up out of here, man. We need to go ahead and get him suspended, get him punished for what he did, that night in Brooklyn, New York. You know what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying? So now the other thing is with Errol is this was messed up with Bison. We saw what happened July 29th. There's no way in the world he should be emerging as no number one contender for Sebastian Fundor's WBC title. How is this possible, man? Am I bugging?
Nah, I mean, he took a beating, and he wants to fight in a new weight class. So I think he needs to take a tune up instead of jumping in there, against a guy that just beat Tim Zhu, and like for a title. So I mean, I think he needs to take a nice tune up, touch the waters at 154, see how he does, and then go ahead, if he's successful, then go ahead and try to get, Fundora or whoever else. But I don't think he needs to jump right in there. He's had another eye surgery. He had another little accident. So I think he needs to take a nice tune up and just see how he does, and then go ahead and take on Fundora if he's dominant, depending on his performance against whoever he fights. But I don't think he should just jump right in there, with Fundora.
He gonna do what he gonna try to do. My thing is the WBC. Like, who's rating him? As far as what you just saw, how do you jump him to number one after what you saw in the fight that he had with Bud Crawford? How? Like, with your eyes, you're going to rate him above some other guys. Now, Bud is about to fight for a belt, the IBF. If he wasn't, I wonder would they still rate him above Bud? I'm not sure. But anybody that's here, man, anybody that's new, make sure you subscribe to the Last Ones at the Bar, man. Baddest Boxing Podcast out. This is what we do each and every Sunday, and hit that for my boy Ty as well. You know what I'm saying? We double teaming it this week. The best of both worlds. But it's unfortunate, man. Like, he should have to, again, I'm sure with his name and cachet and everything that any of the organizations will want him to fight for their belt, because he's going to bring more dollars, and that's going to be more sanctioning fees and percentages that they can get from him. But as far as just like legitimately who should be ranked number one, I would think Zhu should be ranked above him. I would think that who's some other guys that's been active? I'm not sure who's been around there, but any of those guys, maybe a top five. But no, not based on what we saw July 29th. Now, if it was a close fight, and then he moves up, that's a whole different ball game. But no, not based on what we saw. If Fundora wants to fight him, it should be more so a voluntary defense that I'm taking on Errol Spence, not because he's mandated number one. Not right now. No, you can't. And again, that's what they're messing up the sport by doing that, man. That's that. When they do the it's not about what you know, but who you know, sort of thing. Also, Devin Haney. Do you like this fight right here? If Devin Haney, he's ordered, because he kept his belt, to fight Sandor Martin. Do you like this? And if so, if they do go ahead go with this fight, there's no odds yet on Bovada Sportsbook. And that's more so for this fight and then the other fight that I'm gonna show you in a second. But as far as Devin Haney versus Sandor Martin, there's not any betting odds just set over for him and Sandor Martin. I'm sure Devin Haney would be a favorite going into that fight. But would you like that for him after what transpired against Ryan Garcia?
Yeah, I have no problem with that fight at all. I mean, it's been said that Ryan's tested positive. So I mean, Devin Haney, he took a beating. He was dropped 3 times. His jaws are very swollen. So going forward, I don't have a problem with this fight. People felt that Sandor Martin is the guy. He really did beat Teofimo. So Devin Haney, with the beating that he took, I have no problem with him, taking this fight at all. As you mentioned, he still is the champion. He didn't lose his belt. Yes, he lost in the ring, but he didn't lose his belt. But Ryan was on PD, so I'm cool with the fight, man. I think he needs a fight like this going forward. So I'm cool with it. Like I have no issue with what Devin Haney's been doing. Like I said, man, he's the guy that fought Kambosos in his backyard 2 times, beat him. He moved up and beat Regis Prograis, and then he just took on, tough fighter and Ryan Garcia. So he already showed us over and over he's willing to fight the best. So, like I said, with the beating that he sustained, I have no issue at all with him, taking on Sandor Martin in his next fight. So I'm 100% cool with it.
The only thing for him is, do he want to move up and just scrap the belts and try to start getting himself prepared for 147? Because 140 seemed like it's a little bit more challenging, getting more and more challenging. He's just growing, and do he want to put himself through those struggles, especially after a beating that he took? Sometimes when you have that next fight, you want your body to be fully replenished, and you want to go in there and be at your best physically, mentally, and all of that sort of thing. Now that's on them. If they think that 140 isn't that big of an issue, it just seemed like it was in a Ryan Garcia fight. Like he was going through the same struggles he was going through at 135. So that would be the only thing. But as far as the fight is concerned, I think that if it's the WBC, they're doing him a favor by putting him in against a Sandor Martin, because this is a perfect type of fighter for him to face, who doesn't have that much power. Now he's tricky as all get out, but I think that the way Devin fights, that he'll be more slicker, than Sandor Martin. Martin typically has his success against guys who come forward, who take him for granted. Like I thought Teofimo took him for granted. Like, I'm just gonna go in there, I'm gonna knock this dude out, I'm gonna hit him on the chin, because he lost to Anthony Can You Dig It Yigit. And I think the guys who face him, and he doesn't have any really big names on his resume, knowing that he got knocked out against Anthony Dig It Yigit, Can You Dig It Yigit, they go in there and like, oh man, I'm just gonna clip this dude, I'm gonna get him out of there. He's about nothing. And he looks like he's easy to hit, like the way his chin and stuff like that in the air. But it's deceiving. So when you fight him, it's total obviously so unorthodox that if you're not on point, if you haven't really been training fully for him, he can be a tough puzzle to solve. And I think that that's the situation that Teofimo had. I think that Mikey Garcia had the same problem. I don't think Devin, coming off the loss that he had against Ryan, is going to take anybody for granted, and that he's going to put his best foot forward. And in a fight like this, you want a fighter to come back against somebody who doesn't have like huge punching power, and that would be in his favor right there. So I like the fight. If he still can make 140, hopefully they'll take that one as well. Let's go ahead and move forward with the next topic, and that will be Carlos Adames. He's making a swift title defense against Terrell Goucher, who's moving up from 154 to 160 on June 15th. Adames will be a considerable favorite on BovadaSportsbook.com, as he should. What say you like this fight for Carlos Adames, his first title defense at 160? Just getting the title.
It's an okay fight, but to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of Terrell Goucher. But I mean, it's an okay fight. I just think that Adamas, he's on a different level. He's got crazy power. I do think his fight against, J Rock was stopped a little early. J Rock threw a punch and the referee stopped the fight. So I didn't like the outcome in that fight, even though I still think that Adamas will most likely won or got a stoppage. So like Terrell Goucher is the guy that dropped, Tim Tszyu, but I'm just not a fan of Terrell Goucher. I mean, like he's okay. I mean, when he lets his hands go, he's definitely skilled and he's a good fighter. But I'm just not a huge fan of Terrell Goucher. So, like I said, it's an okay fight. But I see Carlos Adames stopping Terrell Goucher in the second half of the fight.
Yeah, I mean, for one, I think it's a good. It depends on where they're going to have this fight. What he wants to do is he wants to, get back in the ring, defend that title, and then possibly. Oops, I hit the wrong thing. I'm trying to pull up because this might be the weakest division in boxing right now, and that's the middleweight division. Let me pull this up real quick. This right here is weak sauce right here, man. So this is his option. So when they putting Terrell Goucher in there, now the other thing though about Adames, he's starting to be one of those dudes who's taking on smaller guys. You know what I'm saying? So now this is the second time he fighting J Rock, who used to be at 154. Goucher, this would be his first fight at 160, I think. But I know that his success that he had, the limited success that he had, was at 154, and that's where he, made most of his bones, which wasn't many bones that he made. The options would be Akinale, and Akinale is kind of calling him out. So, but you never know. Akinale could just be saying that too, because that's some cross promotional stuff. A good fight would be Irislandi Lara, who I think will give him some issues. Who's sitting down on his punches now too. Now, if you want to make some money, but then Chris Eubank never really fight anybody. It's been a long time. Like he has a whole career of like fighting fights that really don't make any sense to me. And it doesn't seem like he really wants to, brush shoulders against the top level guys. And the other dudes, it's just not much there, man. Like, so I don't know. I don't even know what to tell him. Like what do you do in that situation right there? It's not any of those guys aren't gonna put you on, the next level, I would say. But he could like try to go through them and get, collect all of the belts and be undisputed. But with his fighting style, I don't see him like moving up to 168 and being successful at 160. I think he's a good 160-pound fighter, but it's just not much there at 160 unless he can wait on like the Errol Spences to move up, maybe Bud, if he's able to get all of those belts, that he decides to go and after some more belts at 160 if he doesn't get the Canelo fight, something like that. But all in all, it's really not much there for him. What the catch weight? I don't know what Ruben, man, you can go ahead and hit one of them links, man. Just go ahead, come up here. We're about to finish up in a second. Don't be shy, man.
I think we're talking about with Ryan and Spence. I think he may be talking about.
If you're talking about Ryan and Spence, what Spence said is that he'll fight him at 154 or 160. That's what he said. And so if they fight, it will have to be at those weights.
Okay.
All right. So let me go ahead and man, Spencer smoked the mess out of Ryan Garcia. Ain't anybody entertaining that? Whatcom wasn't winning any rounds against Devin until Devin was getting clipped.
Yeah.
Last few topics, man. If you get Ryan Garcia, ain't gonna be sitting here talking about no cheater. He's sitting up here taking all type of steroids, got them PEDs in the system like Pac-Man. Not the Pac-Man, I'm talking about Pac-Man who was eating them pellets. That's what he was doing. So Shakur Stevenson, he's gonna defend his title on July 6th against Artem Haratunian. Shakur is a whopping 18-1. I'm 18-1 favorite according to Bovada Sportsbook over Haratunian. But this is what I was talking about earlier, is that he's going to become a free agent after July 6th title defense. And again, my concern for Shakur going into his last fight, he's not like a power puncher or anything like that. If Haratunia make this any way like close, where he takes 4 or 5 rounds or something like that, and he could, because he's tricky, it could go where Shakur's just way too skillful for him and he can't get to him. But if he makes this a little bit murky in that sense, I don't like how Shakur is talking adversely and negatively about Top Rank, and this is the last fight that you have on your Top Rank contract, because they can make things real tough for you, you know. But what do you think, man? What do you think as far as Shakur becoming a free agent after this fight? Do you have any thoughts in terms of which direction he should go, who he should sign with, or what should he do after July 6th?
I would say, after his fight, I would just say right now, probably Eddie Hearn. It seems like a lot of people are going with Eddie Hearn right now. Boots just signed with Eddie Hearn. Raymond Ford, he just signed with Eddie Hearn. So it looks like Eddie Hearn is definitely, signing a lot of guys. He looks like he's definitely going to be keeping them busy. One thing I didn't like with Top Rank did with Shakur is when they had his fight on the Thursday. You know what I mean? It was just, and then they did the same thing with Teofimo Lopez, right? I didn't like that. For top guys to be fighting on Thursdays. I think it brought less eyes to the fights. But I think going forward, Eddie Hearn would definitely be a good opportunity, for Shakur Stevenson. I wouldn't want to see him re-sign with Top Rank. Definitely not with PBC, because their top fighters are only fighting once a year. Golden Boy, I wouldn't say Golden Boy either. Golden Boy, there had some issues with the fighters. Oscar and Canelo just went into it. Oscar and Ryan Garcia, they got into it, after the situation happened with Ryan Garcia losing the tank. So I would say going forward, I think Eddie Hearn and Matchroom will probably be the best option for Shakur Stevenson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can't even say PBC because those dudes don't really be having those dates like that. He could play a Devin Haney and just like fight by fight sort of thing, or Canelo does the same thing, but he just doesn't have that type of base, that it will allow him to do that. Shakur, again, he's pushing himself into a bad corner because the way he talks, and he can rub people the wrong way. He's kind of like a genie. You know what I mean? How you rub people the wrong way. You know what I'm saying? So, with that being said, Hearn seems to be the best situation for him. But if he signs with Hearn, who's as far as his weight class, who's with Hearn that will guarantee him that he gets the fights that he's looking for? Because with Top Rank, I think his biggest gripe is the fact that he can't get Navarrete, he can't get Loma, he never got a chance to get with Devin, and so he's kind of left, hanging. And I'm not sure if he signs with Hearn, if that's going to do him any more favors, or if that's going to get him the fights that he's looking for. I'm not sure. And then the last thing is that Shakur just, again, he talked too much before he actually did anything of note. Now, he got the Oscar Valdez wins, and he was pretty successful at 130. But you wasn't with the big boys at 135, because all of the dudes that you beat, and you have a pretty good resume at 130, I don't think that any of the dudes who you won at 135 was overly impressed, because they felt like they would do the same thing to those dudes anyway. Like, who wouldn't be able to beat Valdez out of the dudes, like top dudes? Like, we'll whitewash him. Whoever else it is that you fought. And then on top of that, you talked all spicy. You had a lot to say. Like I say, I call it, when people talking spicy like that, he was talking that Grey Poupon. You understand what I'm saying? And then you lay an egg against De Los Santos. not only did you lay an egg, it wasn't like you was in there like really banging and going for it. It's like you was running around, sir. And so now, as a promoter, it's like you making it tough for me to go ahead and recruit you because of your fighting style, and it's not like people are gonna be excited to go against you. You're not bringing a lot to the table as far as like finances and economically. So he's in a tough spot. He's gonna have to hope that somebody is, willing to face him who doesn't necessarily have to face him. Because again, that's what Loma. I think Loma will fight him, but it's just he doesn't bring enough to the table right now. He doesn't have anything that would justify me going after somebody who's high risk, low reward. And all I'm doing is him a favor, at the end of the day. So we'll see, man. I think that's about it for the day. I told what's my guy, man? Ruben, man, could have came through. You could have gave your predictions on the big fight next week, and also talk about some of the things you mentioned right there as far as 160 and 168. I don't know what you're saying, sir. You come up and make your points. Don't be ashamed, sir. You need to always come up here. We love to have you. The other thing, make sure you hit the like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And then, Ty, I just want to point this out right here. Did you ever get a chance to look at the trunks of that fighter who fought on July 29th?
Yeah, I remember you pointed out on the live.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we all understand who that was in the ring right there. That was Daryl Spence, the twin brother of Errol. He snuck in the ring on the 29th, and that's the reason why we had the outcome we had. But yeah, man. Any last words you got, Legend?
I do want to cover Ferry and Usyk. I have some people that want to come on and try to cover it with me. I'm not sure, but I definitely want to try to make that happen. I'm still working on more interviews, and I mentioned to you off camera, I am definitely interested in going to the Boots fight. Like I said, I think it's easy work for him, but like I said, when the big fight, comes up, I always, try to go to them. So I'm looking forward to trying to make it to that card, on July 13th.
What about little fella, Shakur, over there in Newark? You thinking about that one?
Not really. I think the Philly fight with Boots is a little better for me. Newark is quite a far drive. Every time I go to Jersey, I like to go to the ones in Atlantic City. I know Newark is quite a little ways away from Atlantic City is quite a little ways from Newark. So I ain't really too big on that fight with Shakur and Artem. But I mean, it's an okay fight. I'll just probably catch that one on TV.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And then the only other thing that I was going to ask you, and you might have touched on this last week, but what have you been thinking about as far as Tank and Frank, like as far as their interactions and whatnot?
Yeah, fair. I like what they did at the press conference. They talked a lot of trash. I mean, that's what they're supposed to do. So they made it interesting. I'm interested in the fight, man. We only got we got about a month for that fight happens. It's a nice undercard. Benavidez is on the undercard. I think Tank is going to be fighting a guy that's going to be using his footwork. So I think he's going to have tough time early, but I think Tank will eventually figure him out and probably get a late round stoppage. I think that Martin, like, this is a good fight for him, but at the same time, Tank has already been on this big stage a lot of times. You know what I mean? He's headlined the pay-per-views. This is nothing new to him. Whereas Martin, this is more like a big stage for him for the first time. You know what I mean? So I just think that, in the later rounds, if it does go to the later rounds, the pressure is going to get to him, and Tank's going to go in for that kill, and get that, that one hitter quitter power that he has, and eventually get Martin out of there. So I think Frank Martin is going to do good, the first half of the fight, but the second half of the fight, he's gonna feel those shots from Tank. He's gonna feel that power, and eventually he's gonna get clipped with something big. But I like I said, I like what they did at the press conference. They did a lot of trash talking. So, and I believe the press conference that's gonna happen in the next coming weeks and next coming days. It's going to get more intense. The trash talk is going to build up even more, and the fans are going to be ready to tune in and watch a great fight.
I just think if Frank can get Tank to like fight on the front foot and not like go after Tank. Tank is at his best when guys are trying to come after him, and then he can figure out a way to set up that left hand and run you into something. Like that's when he's at his best. When he has to like come get you, I think he's a little bit more vulnerable. But sometimes what happens is in the midst of him being on the front foot, if there's ever a situation where he feels a guy can do some damage to him, then he'll bide his time until he kind of wears them down. Like he rarely puts himself in a situation where he can get caught by something. He'll just, like I say, bide his time. And so I think that for Frank, if he's able to do that, if he's able to get to a point where Tank feels like he has to come on and then he can kind of box and then run Tank into some stuff, he might even be able to get a knockdown or two, because then he'll be able to catch him off guard. But the moment you start applying that pressure, that's when Tank appears to be, like I said, at his best. Last thing I'm gonna say and run down is some of the fights that's coming up, man. Any of these, the ones that's coming up, the spring and the summer, which ones are you most interested in? Obviously, we got the fight card, like I said, this week, where you got Jorge Cordina. I don't know his opponent that he's facing in that IBF title match, but like I said, that Ja Obataia Maris Bradis is going to be one that I'm going to be looking for. But also on this card, the Saudis always put a lot of dudes on the card, man. They got Frank Sanchez on there. They got Sergey Kovalev on there. So they got some names on there. The 18th, which is going to be later that night, I'm assuming, you got Navarrete. He's going to be putting his title, or he's fighting for the vacant WBO lightweight title. How is he fighting for the WBO lightweight title, though? Huh?
Yeah, I'm not sure, man. Yeah.
How is he fighting for it, though?
Mm-hmm.
Boxing is messed up. You got a Cole, he's fighting, I want to say that's on a Friday, for the bridgeweight belt. Josh Taylor and Jack Catterall fight is coming up. Who you favoring that one?
I would probably go with. This is a rematch, right?
Correct. First fight was controversial. A lot of people thought Catterall won, but they gave it to Taylor. He dropped Taylor and everything.
Yeah, I might go with Catterall on this one.
Yeah, Taylor been looking bad lately.
Yeah, but far as like which fights I'm interested in the most, of course, this Saturday with Fury Usyk, to me, that's a big fight. It's unified, undisputed. So this is a big one, and of course, we got Tank and Frank next month. But I really wanted to see Bivol and Better Biv, but of course, Bivol is fighting somebody else now. Forget who the guy is, but he's fighting somebody else. But I would say for May, definitely Fury and Usyk, and then June Tank and Frank. And we also got Adrian Broner and Blair Cobbs coming up. I think that's June 7th or something like that, or June 1st, one of them.
Yeah, so it's gonna be on here. Yeah, it's gonna be on here. And you familiar with M. Billy?
Yeah, I know we talked about him on the live a couple of times. I'm not familiar with him, but I just know he got a good record.
Yeah, he got a fight coming up, and then you got you excited about that Wilder and Jean?
So yeah, I'm real excited about that, man. Salute to shout out to Malik Titus, the guy I interviewed from Baltimore. He posted on his story that he did some work with Zhali Zong. So it's pretty cool to see that he's working with Zelly Zong. But yeah, I'm definitely interested in Zong and Wilder. You know, both of them are coming off losses to, you know, Joseph Parker. Both guys are power punchers. Both guys are a little older, so it's all about who's going to land the big shot first. So that's one I'm really interested to see. You know, who's going to win that one. You know, both of them are older, both are power punchers. So I'm just willing to see who takes that one. So definitely looking to see that one too.
And then Dubois Herkovich on there. That would have been an insane card if Bivol actually fought better. Like that might have been one of the best cards I've seen in a long time. But it's still kind of loaded. Bivol is taking on Zanad, who's 21-0 with 16 KOs, I believe. Like you say, that's the following week. That Friday is going to be in Fort Lauderdale. You got Broner and Cobb. If that takes place, I wouldn't be surprised if Broner pulls out of that fight for whatever reason. June 8th, that's going to be Puerto Rican Day Parade weekend. You got Xander Zayas. He's fighting Patrick Chiseras. You know, that's I don't know. What about the Sabria's Liam Powell fight? You excited about that one?
You said Liam Powell and who? Matias?
Sabria Matias, yeah.
Oh yeah. That's a big one. I forgot about that. But yeah, I'm definitely interested in that, man. Matias is one of the guys I always want to watch fight. Anytime he fights, like I said, I have the opportunity to see him live. Hey, that power is different. Like I said, he just starts off slow, and then he just starts pouring it on. Like I said, his shots don't look like it hurt, but those fighters be feeling it. So yeah, that's definitely one I'm interested in seeing.
They're not doing him any favors because his card is going head to head with that Tank Davis card, and then Benavidez fighting Gosdick. So he could more than likely be fighting around the same time Benavidez and Gosdick are fighting. So you might have to come back to that one.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. Yeah, two big fights like that. Yeah, in the same. Wow, I didn't even realize they were on the same day. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna try to catch both of them though. That just makes it, you know, even more interesting night for boxing fans. You know, we might just be flipping back and forth, but yeah, those are that's a good night of boxing right there.
Yeah, even like some people gonna like the Billum Smith fight because Billum Smith, he ended up beating Oki. I think that's his name, Oakley. And he upset him for that cruiserweight belt. So I'm sure that's gonna come on early in the morning. And then you got the big fight card that night. And then the 21st, I'm not familiar with those opponents up there. Tio is going to be fighting Claggett, not the greatest opponent in the world, but he'll be back in the action. The slept-on fight is going to be that Juan Francisco Estrada and Bam Rodriguez fight, June 29th. Like that's going to be some high-level stuff. And then you got this Shockey Foster. They added his fight, the Ropes and Casey fight, onto that Shakur Stevenson. That's going to be a pretty good matchup between those two.
Yeah, his style is just like his style is odd, and I know he caused some problems for Navarrete. So yeah, that's a good interesting one. Like Conceição, his style is just it's weird, man. It's like a weird style that he has, but it works like because he's like is he like British or something? What is he?
Brazilian. He's from Brazil.
Brazilian. Yeah, he's got like a weird style to him. I think he'll give anybody problems at who he fights.
Olympic gold medalist. And then Katie Taylor Serrano, July 20th in Arlington. That's when you went over there and saw Virgil Ortiz over there in Arlington one time.
Yeah, it was in Fort Worth.
Oh, is it Fort Worth?
Yeah, it was in Fort Worth, yeah.
And then
I'm definitely interested in him in Tim Zhu. I know that's not till August, so we still got a couple months. But that card is probably a stack card too. The one with Bivol, his undercard is stacked, and then the August third card is stacked. So both of those cards are real stacked with good fights. But I would say Virgil Ortiz and Tim Zhu, that's one I'm really looking forward to.
That fight card is bananas, man. Like and if they are they gonna have them in that slot right there? Like to me, that would be damn near a main event right there. And if they put that fourth, wow. So they would have Pitbull before or after? Big Baby and Andy Ruiz? No.
Yeah.
That damn near should be the main event. damn near. But
Yeah.
you know, that's gonna be crazy, man. But yeah, man, we got a lot of good boxing to look forward to. A lot of good conversations. I'm gonna go to the comments and then we can wrap this one up. In the comments, you got Ruben. He says they entertain because they chasing the bag. Okay.
That last guy, he said something negative, but I don't pay attention to negative stuff, man. You're gonna have something like that in here, but it is what it is, man.
Oh, that's what this dude said.
Yeah.
No, let's go ahead and pull him up. I like it because I know that's not his actual picture right there. So I ain't going. It's an OG Percy, no mercy. You need an OG hater right there. He said, "Get a real job, sir. You don't know what it is that we do, sir. So how would you even assume that? You know, they say don't make an ass out of you and me because you assume. And so I'm gonna leave it at that, good fella. You know, hopefully, you know, whatever it is you got going on in your life that you are happy with what it is that you do. You know what I'm saying? The other thing I'll advise you to do, they say mind your own, you live long, you see.
Right.
But with that being said, man, let's go ahead and close this one out, Ty. Man, I certainly appreciate you because the brother Vail, he couldn't make it today. And so thanks for coming through, you know, being the guest host, you know, once again, because you do such a wonderful job. And keep up the good work on your end. You got any, like you say, any interviews that you know that might be coming up down the pipe?
I'm working on. I got a couple of them. Like I said, I'm just working on them. Don't really want to say no names. I got a ref that I'm trying to interview, so I'm gonna work on that. But I might got a couple of them. But the referee is the one that I'm really trying to do first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You touched base with the Galaxy Warrior again?
Campbell.
Yeah.
No, I haven't touched base with him. But yeah, I just did a little bit of talking, you know, off camera with one of the ladies that put it together. So yeah. But now I haven't touched base with him again.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, man. Like I say, keep up the good work. I'm gonna go ahead and close this one out. I certainly appreciate you. Certainly appreciate Ruben. Also, the hater right there. You know what I'm saying? Thank you for logging on. And on that note, man, we're gonna go ahead and close the show. Have a good week and happy Mother's Day. We out. Peace.
Peace.